On a freezing winter night in Chicago, a homeless man found a bag stuffed with $50,000 in cash. He hadn't eaten a proper meal in 2 days. No one was watching. No one would ever know. But the decision he made next changed his life forever. The icy wind cut through the streets of downtown Chicago as Sebastian Blackwood pulled his worn coat tighter around his body. At 43 years old, Sebastian had lost almost everything. A workplace injury had cost him his construction job. Medical bills drained his savings. Then came the eviction notice. Within a year, he found himself sleeping in shelters and sometimes on park benches. Life had become a daily struggle for survival. That night, as he walked toward a church that served free meals, something caught his eye. A black duffel bag sat alone beside a parking meter. First, he ignored it. Then curiosity got the better of him. He looked around. The sidewalk was nearly empty. Carefully, he picked up the bag. It felt unusually heavy. When he unzipped it, his heart nearly stopped. Bundles of cash filled the entire bag. Hundreds of bills. Thousands of dollars. More money than Sebastian had ever seen in one place. For a moment, the world stood still. His mind raced. A warm apartment. New clothes. A fresh start. No more sleeping in the cold. No more wondering where his next meal would come from. Everything he desperately needed was right there in front of him. All he had to do was walk away. Nobody would know. But then another thought entered his mind. Someone out there was probably terrified. Someone had lost this money. Someone was searching for that bag right now. Sebastian closed his eyes. The temptation was overwhelming. Yet deep inside, he knew what the right thing was. Without taking a single dollar, he zipped the bag shut and headed directly to the nearest police station. The officers were shocked. After counting the cash, they confirmed the total.
$52,000.
One officer stared at Sebastian. You know, most people wouldn't have turned this in. Sebastian shrugged. It doesn't belong to me. The officers filed a report and thanked him for his honesty. Sebastian expected that to be the end of it. The next morning, however, everything changed. A local news station picked up the story. Then another. Soon social media was flooded with headlines. Homeless Chicago man returns $50,000 cash. People across the city were amazed. Comments poured in praising his honesty. Yet Sebastian continued living exactly as before. He still slept in shelters. Still waited in food lines. Still struggled every day. Fame didn't pay the bills. 2 weeks later, police located the owner of the money. His name was Caleb Turner, a successful business owner from Chicago's North Side. The cash had been withdrawn to cover payroll and supplier payments for his company. When Caleb learned that a homeless man had returned every dollar, he couldn't believe it. Most people would have kept at least some of the money. Sebastian hadn't taken a single cent. Caleb asked to meet him personally. The two men met at a small coffee shop. Caleb immediately stood up and shook Sebastian's hand. I don't know many people who would have done what you did, Caleb said. Sebastian smiled quietly. I just did what I hoped someone would do for me. For several seconds, Caleb said nothing. Then he nodded. That's exactly why I wanted to meet you. A few days later, Caleb shared Sebastian's story online. What happened next stunned everyone. Thousands of people began donating. $5.
$20.
$100. The donations kept coming. People from across America wanted to reward the man who chose honesty when he had every reason not to. Within 3 weeks, the fundraiser exceeded $150,000. Sebastian was speechless. He had spent years feeling invisible. Now strangers were showing him kindness he never imagined possible. But Caleb wasn't finished. After learning more about Sebastian's background, he offered him a full-time position at his company. The job included healthcare benefits, training opportunities, and temporary housing assistance. For the first time in years, Sebastian had stability. Paycheck, a safe place to sleep, a future. 6 months later, Sebastian stood inside his own apartment. The keys rested in his hand. The furniture wasn't fancy. The apartment wasn't large. But it was his. He looked around the room and felt tears fill his eyes. A year earlier, he had been sleeping outside in freezing temperatures. Now he had a home, career, and hope. That evening, his phone buzzed. A text message from Caleb appeared. "Proud of you, my friend." Sebastian smiled. Then he looked out at the Chicago skyline glowing beneath the sunset. Everything had changed because of one decision, one moment, one act of honesty. Sometimes life tests people when they have the least to give. Sebastian had every reason to keep the money. Instead, he chose integrity. And in return, he received something far greater than $50,000. He got his life back. Character is what you do when nobody is watching. Sometimes the right choice becomes the reason your entire future changes.